Crescent City. And because he was an outsider to the area, he got all the bad jobs. Anything that was, when it was raining, middle of the night, had to go out in all kinds of weather, Dad got that job. And we talked about that in the last 2 weeks that we were here, that he was with us. His dad lived with us for the last 10 months. I would go up to him and I'd whisper in his ear and says, "Hey, Cable Splicer, how you doing?" And he would just brighten up his day because he knew that he overcame all that, the negativity of his first job, and he moved on. And so after a while, we were in Crescent City, and Dad knew that he had to get our family set in a church. And so I don't know what led him to it, but we found this little church. It's kind of like this, called Fort Dick Bible Church in the north side of Crescent City. And there were people just like you in the church, and there were people named Rimsburg and Gustafson and several others that we all know, and the Bertolinis, and thank you, April. And but they could have been your names too. But that church took our family in, and just like you did, and said, you're not by yourself. You're one of us. And we stayed there. We stayed there for about 7 or 8 years there until Dad got promoted and moved on. But from that point on, we were involved in churches. Every time we moved, we found a local church and we got involved, and Dad got involved. And we were always, when the doors opened, we were there. And so that made a lasting impression on the family and all of us. And so what I would like to do is I'm going to share a story that I'm going to introduce you to a cousin of mine. She wrote a really nice letter to us over the last week that I got, and it really explains where Dad's heart was. And her name is Lynette. She lives out of
Newberry Springs.
Newberry Springs. That's right. Newberry Springs, and we have my mom's twin sister still alive. She lives in Ontario. So Lynette says that in James chapter 1, verse 27, it says, "Religion that is pure and undefiled before God the Father is this: to visit the orphans and widows in their affliction, and to keep oneself unstained from the world." And then in verse 17 of chapter 2, James states, "So also faith by itself, if it does not have works, is dead." When we think about Uncle Boyd, this is Lynette's words, faithfulness is the word that comes to mind. And he was faithful to his God, to his wife, to his family, and to his church family. Uncle Boyd didn't just pay lip service to his faith, though he lived it. He spoke openly about trusting God's sovereign plan over all things, even after the death of his wife, Aunt Jeanette. We will never forget his confidence in his Lord. Years after our grandfather died, Uncle Boyd stepped up and helped my grandmother get all of her finances and paperwork in order, as that was something that my grandfather took care of. Even from a distance of 1,000 miles, he was the one willing to act, to serve, to care for the widows. For years, he graciously included Aunt Dora, my mom's twin sister, in vacations that he went on with my mom. Then after Aunt Jeanette passed away, he stepped up again to care for Aunt Dora's needs as her eyesight began to fail and she became unable to take care of bills and other important mail and financial information. These many years, he has been caring for his unmarried sister-in-law, again for a distance of over 1,000 miles. We have great memories of Uncle Boyd coming to Southern California with Aunt Jeanette and bringing Aunt Dora up to the high desert for the church service and lunch afterward. And up until about 3 years ago, he continued that twice-a-year tradition and brought Aunt Dora up to see us. When Aunt Dora needed surgery, he was the one on the phone to us, immediately insisting our help with getting her to her appointments. He simply could not, as he was in Washington and she in California. But he did not leave it to her to figure out on her own. He set a plan in motion and took care of the details. Last May, we got to see Devin and April and Uncle Boyd on a mission to retrieve a couple of family heirloom chairs that he was passing along. While we were enjoying the chairs, our greatest Thanksgiving is that we got to see our Uncle Boyd one more time and enjoy visiting with him and hearing him tell the story of how he got started in the orchard business. If there was anything Uncle Boyd was never short of, was stories, many stories. Lots of them funny, were shared over the years at our lunch table. Something else we are truly thankful for is that our kids got to know this godly man and observe firsthand how he lived out his faith. We will miss Uncle Boyd, a man we loved and respected greatly, but we rejoice with him knowing that he is right where he wants to be, in the presence of his Savior. And we will end with the same words he ended all his notes and cards to us. To God be the glory. So that was just a story that, I couldn't pass up reading. This very nice note that Nanette wrote. And not only did he, when he moved to Meadow Ridge, there was a lot of widows and widowers in there, and he would always go visit them and take them by the hand and sit with them when they needed to. And so I wanted to share with you where his heart was, and that was, and then that said it more than better than I could. Later on, Pastor Steve's going to let you know that down below we have some refreshments and some sandwiches. So feel free to come by and share stories of Dad and where you met him. And I know that there's some Smitty's people in here. And Smitty sent flowers to Dad. And that's just, I really appreciate that. Anyway.